This is Tom, aka Gedeon, here for Star Frontiers Gamer. And it is, of course, Frontiersman Friday, episode number 8. And we are therefore doing Star Frontiersman number 8. So idiot proof this numbering system is. Let's talk about the cover a little bit. It's almost a monochrome cover, but I actually like this particular cover. And when I first looked at it, I did not realize that those were pyramids in the background. I always liked it. I liked the city scene. I like the, ships going across the sky. But when I realized there was pyramids there, I'm thinking, ooh, Blade Runner vibe. And of course, Blade Runner is a hugely popular IP. In fact, even as I'm recording this, the Kickstarter for the Blade Runner RPG is somewhere close to 1 million. It's probably gonna go over 1 million. Blade Runner is hugely and insanely popular, and I like this cover. Initially, didn't notice those pyramids, but once I did, I was like, oh yeah, we got a Blade Runner vibe going here, and I kind of think it's cool. So getting right into it, the first article in the Star Frontiersman number 8 is the Frontier Tech Journal, and it's all about chronocoms. And Bill Logan wrote this, and he goes into history and satellite networks in the frontier. Talks about the basic chronocom, but then he goes into this advanced chronocom and the biocom, which is an implanted chronocom, both of which are interesting little rubs. And I think, they're well worth adding to the frontier. Also of importance is this signal amplification tower. I like the idea of this, particularly if you're doing something on a planet where there's just a exploration base, some sort of compound's been set up on a new planet. The players are there and they're exploring, or whatever the story is, and you don't want the limited chronocom range of 3 to 5 kilometers, whatever it is. Having this tower, just putting it on the base, it's something that can be targeted by the bad guys, and it becomes so. If the bad guys get away with targeting it, and now the players have greater limitations. I really like the idea of this signal amplification tower, and it's something I've always kind of kept at the back of my head if I'm doing a exploration type game. So there's some adventure ideas in here. And all in all, I think it's a great little tech journal article written by Bill Logan, particularly like the advanced and the biocoms and just the exploration of chronocom technology. Now this is funny to me. And I really don't mean to laugh because I love the artist. This was done by Shell. He's done a lot of great artwork over the years for the fan magazines. Particularly for the Star Frontiersman. But this is an illustration for the Circle of Fate fiction, which is in the previous 2 issues. So it's like an after the fact illustration, which is why I laugh about it. But it's kind of cool. The reason why I really like this artwork is it's got that Firefly vibe. I mean, this female tech here has got her boots off and she's in the hammock. It's got a strung up hammock in engineering space, and it just has that Firefly Kaylee, Kaylee the engineer on Firefly. It's just got that vibe, and so I've just always thought it was such a cool illustration. Next, we get into my number 1 takeaway from this particular issue, Yazirian Clans, written by Shadow Shack, who I'm a big fan of. It's tables. You're rolling for Planet of Lineage, and then you roll on that table. You don't have to. You just go through and pick it. Say, oh, my character is from Hargut, and you just go through and read and you pick the clan that you want to be from, or you're rolling on it. It's, so either way, it works well. This is, I think, I have come back to this issue of the Star Frontiersman again and again and again and again, just for this particular piece of content. And all it is a bunch of tables and a great bit of creativity on Richard's part. So this is my number one takeaway. Dinosaur Planet. This article is you've got some maps, and this could quite possibly be stolen satellite imagery applied to this style of ortho planet map here. I think you can find those in the tools online, and get this sort of fractile map done up of the planet. And so they've just found a nice little piece of satellite imagery that they've matched to a space on the map. They may have modified it. I'm not sure what they did for map making, but you get a nice image, full page image here of this little peninsula where the action should take place. And I like this because it then allows you to you could do a screenshot, grab this image, put a few red dots on there. This is a crash site. This is the secret lab. This is, whatever have you for your adventure. But you get this Dinosaur Planet torrent. You can drop this anywhere in your frontier that you want. So they're describing this peninsula, the Southern Vale, and herbs of note. So you've got planets, and then you've got creatures, and you've got a lot of creatures all done up for this planet. Hitchhiker insect here, the Calastodon, also known as the tree rake, some vulture-like creatures, plenty of dinosaurs, something very much like an allosaur. These look like analogs to the velociraptor. They're called the ripclaw. The snaggleback, stegosaurus, obviously. But these are great. So you've got the planet is written up for you, at least a area of the planet, and then all these creatures. This makes for the busy game master. You've got to just come up with something, and you want to just set an adventure. You can drop it right here. So I highly endorse this type of article, and it's. It's something I've referred to in the past, and I've been like, you could set this adventure you're telling me about. You could use that Dinosaur Planet that was in the Star Frontiersman. So I like it. So next we have Spawn of Zebulon. And this is a continuation of that whole series of taking the intelligent species from Volturnus and writing them up so they could be used as player character races. And here we have the Eorna. So you get another just a solid treatment of them as a player character race. They're putting right in here that they have the mentalist or the psionic powers as their special ability. Or it's so you've got a couple options. You can do it one way, or you can do it where it's basically just they have the hypnotism skill, same as the Sathar do. So interesting article. I don't know if I like the Eorna, even though they're canon. I like them as an NPC race, but you could certainly use them if you wanted to. I don't know that I would want to. But next is 101 uses for dead robots. Now you think you're going to get an article that's going to give you some practical stuff. It's fiction. This is a fiction story. So next up is Hovercycles by Shadow Shack by Richard again. And so you get, with this Hovercycles article, you get Frontier Cycle history talked about from a historic, it's kind of fluff background information. And then you get Hovercycle clubs of the frontier. And I love this. What it is tables of Hovercycle clubs. So you get their name, their affiliation, their home turf, chapters, members. So some of these will have members of 700 to 800. Others will be in the thousands. They have a symbol, their colors, and their known rivals. So that it's just a table giving you basic information, and you can take it and use it in your frontier. So I've always liked this, but it was not my number one go-to for this particular issue. It was always the Yazirian clans. You know, if somebody's rolling up a Yazirian, they want a clan background, or if I'm rolling up a Yazirian, I want a clan background. You don't always come to the cycles, but this is highly useful material. It was very thorough, and then you get an NPC biker here with some more artwork from Shell. I mean, he's just killing it in this issue. And then you get this little gem, Starships, the heavy, it's the Explorer class Heavy Scout. Basically, it is a hull size 5 scout ship. So in other words, it's the scout ship writ large as if it were a frigate. Now, and they've done a size comparison here with the Assault Scout. And also in this image, you've got the lander that comes with this Explorer class. So it comes with a lander, and here's in more imagery. We've got the lander taking off and the cargo container dropping away. The lander then picks it up and brings it down. So you don't have to land this ship, but because it is a hull size 5, you could theoretically land it with the atomic drives, which are an option here. So you get all these, you know, great illustrations here, some diagrams, and then you get really nice deck plan, which, you know, hey, we all love a good deck plan, don't we? And very thorough. They did some little counters here, and you know, so you can print these off and make counters if you're, you know, playing on the Nighthawks map. And now what's interesting is they've put prices here for atomic drive version without a contract, 2 million credits, with a contract, 1 million. Same thing with the ion drive. So this ship, you can save money on it by getting it with the ion drives, just assuming that you're going to use the Expedition Shuttle module. So, you know, there's a way to save some money with this ship, and I'm kind of okay with just using the ion drives with it and scratch the atomic drives. You know, save a buck, and you've got the Expedition Shuttle anyways. The ion drives then give you an extra defense. You can be using the ion window for screening your location. So I'm kind of cool with going with the ion drive option for this ship. So, and then here we go, yet another great illustration by Shell. And this doesn't go to any, you know, it's an illustration without an article. But the comment up here is, you know, suggesting, how about a connected series of adventures centering around a small Star-Lord attachment? That actually never happened. So you have this illustration. It's a great one. I love these names. You know, Agent Jarek 2, Dirty. His nickname is Dirty Harry. He's a Yazirian. He's dirty and he's hairy. You know, I just think that's great. Sergeant Muldoon, the Drawla side. I like this guy. So just you know, I've always loved this illustration. Then Law and Justice. Law and Justice is a fiction piece by William Saenz. Now, I liked William, you know, but his fiction could be a little dark. But he always had great ideas, and I loved riffing off of his ideas back in the day on the .us forums. So, piece of fiction here. Again, we're not going to cover the fiction. You can read it for yourself. No spoiler alerts. Now we have a new rules article, and this is Ablative Damage with hit locations. And so this is just if you want a grittier, grainier kind of rule for the game. It, you know, includes hit locations. Another option for making your game a little bit grittier, a little bit grainier. I never used it. I just wasn't interested. Equipment. Here's another great takeaway from this article. Auto docks. I like the auto dock. It's a great option if you don't have a medic in the party. Or if you have a crappy NPC medic. But yeah, and you know, so a whole page just on the auto dock, rules for running it. I think that I absolutely think this is a great addition to the game. We got the laser rifle, Basically, it's a super long range weapon with a lot of damage output. Whoever's being targeted needs to have an albedo screen to survive. So this weapon might actually be a little bit overpowered, but it will get the job done as a laser rifle. That I'm sure of. Well, as long as you keep the settings up, the SCU settings up high. Photo voltaic paint. I like this. What I don't like is that you come down here to the notes. Takes 4 hours to apply. That's not a problem. Provides 1d10 SCU charge rate per day. I think that's a little low. And it lasts for 1d10 weeks. I'm not sure about that. I kind of feel like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that whole last 1d10 weeks. I feel like that's, you put it on and it just works until, maybe, if you put it on a car, till the car gets shot up and, now that's one of the things that has been damaged. You're not getting the proper power transmission. So I like the idea of photovoltaic paint. I'm not sure I'm down with the actual stats that were put to it by the author, who was it's Bill Logan. He usually does good work. So I think I might disagree with him on that. This was the other cool thing in this issue was somebody converted the Eagle transporter from Space 1999 for Star Frontiers. Hull size 2, chemical thruster. So, I just loved that they did this. I don't think I ever used it in the game, but I love that it was added. It was just cool because, I just have such fond memories as a kid watching Space 1999. More weapons, Gauss accelerators. So you've got the Gauss assault rifle and the Gauss sniper rifle added to the game. More ways to kill people. More in interesting ways. So yeah, robo steeds. Just because at some point you need a robo steed. So great addition. And then we've got mini subs, the Manta mini sub and the Bathios Explorer. I know my wife has been harassing me because she first started college studying marine life. And she's been like, we need to do an underwater adventure. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do underwater? So these are a great addition. They're here in this magazine. You won't use them often, but when you need them, there they are. Then Gorlian Thug. In the Alpha Dawn rules, there is an example of something given, and they mention, they just throw out this little mention of a Gorlian Thug. They don't tell you what a Gorlian Thug is. And later, what this is presenting a Gorlian Thug species that could be a player character species. And they're kind of a huge gorilla type, being with some horns as they're pictured here. So later on, after this was published, we ran a poll and put out all the options, like a gorilla-like species. Gorlians were a Yazirian clan. We had a bunch of options and we ran a poll, and I'm not sure where that poll was published, the results of that poll. And I can't even remember now what it was, but this was one of the options. I don't think this won on the poll actually, but it's a nice presentation of, if you need a Chewbacca-like race, here you go. Big and tough, rip the arms off of a robot when they lose it, 3D hollow chess. These would be your guys. So it's an interesting race. I've not actually used them in my game. Creative refereeing. This article on creative refereeing is all about story structure, and it covers elements of story structure, and it's very firmly placed within what's known as the Hickman revolution, where Hickman came in and changed how modules were written, and the modules had to have a story. You started seeing things like the vampire one there, Ravenloft. There's more of a story to the module, and it's less of a dungeon crawl. So this is very much in that vein, which is okay because Star Frontiers doesn't always lend itself to your classic dungeon crawl. I can think of circumstances where, yeah, I would be running a classic dungeon crawl. Like you find a ship drifting in space and you want to board it. Well, it has suddenly turned into a dungeon crawl, very small decks and, ladder wells and elevators, if you can get the elevator running, going up between the decks. So yeah, it's very focused on that, and it's good. It's a substantial amount here. Discussing climax, quick decisions, adventure, characters are the who, goals the what. So it's well-rounded article, but it's very much in the Hickman, that Hickman school of thought, which changed how modules were written. Mechanons. And this, the Mechanons, this is written by Bill Logan. This is almost kind of a continuation of that Volturnus series. And basically it's a write-up on Mechanons as if you were going to use them as a player character species. I don't think anybody would use them as a player character species, but it's a write-up as if you would. And from that standpoint, you actually could. Although I don't think I would. But so it's a great write-up. And, damn if this is not a great illustration by Shell. These are great-looking Mechanons. Forget that Mechanon illustration in Zebulon's Guide. That's just cartoony and it stinks. This is fabulous stuff here. And, this is how I want my Mechanons to look in my setting. Is just like this, the leaders, the warrior, yeah, absolutely. These are Mechanons to me. This works. And I love the fact that they have a tail because they were designed by the Eorna, I think is how they're pronounced. And the Eorna have a tail themselves. So they would build a robot almost in their own image, right? So I love that the Mechanons have a tail. I love these heads that Shell envision. This is just boom. Just tear out the picture in Zebulon's Guide and paste this over it. Done. And then right before it classifies, we get this. These are a set of, these are like NPC cards, but for ships. And so you have them for all classes within the fleet, from fighter up through battleship. And then the last one is the Nighthawk's board game weapons and defenses chart here. So you can print this on Avery business cards and then laminate it and use them over and over and over again. And I love the in the bottom corner, the Nighthawk's board game card. That's going to be handy at the table. Have a couple of those around the table. So yeah. And then our final, how many pages was that? 70 pages. So we're up 70 pages. It's a good size issue. And again, the classifieds. And again, you're getting some interesting stuff here to, riff off of. Just this precision memory removal. Forget about her. She isn't worth your pain. Chronocom subspace relay, blah, blah, blah. And again, with the Torita and Gorko, again, in the classifieds. So there's interesting little things here for you to use in your game as classifieds that they might find on the information nets. Here's some material for you to cut and snip and use. And that is Star Frontiersman number 8. Another great issue. I don't know that it's like a favorite issue, but man, I love that Yazirian Clans article. So handy. I've kept coming back to this particular issue just for that article. So, great job, Richard Rose, who wrote that. He probably should expand on that more. I mean, all these years later, I'm sure we can think of some new clans and, expand that, and make it bigger tables. But yeah, I love the Yazirian Clans article. Absolutely a personal favorite of mine. My number one takeaway from this issue. So there you have it. Frontiersman Friday. Thanks for watching. I want to thank my subscribers. You guys are great. Appreciate you. And I will see you in the frontier.